Today, we're exploring some of the most valuable top 5 1-cent wheat penny coins from the United States of America, United States. In this video, we'll break down their current market values, showcase well-known era coins, and explain the specific conditions that make certain wheat pennies extremely rare. This includes copper compositions, unique color shades, and other special characteristics that have become major players in the coin collector and investor world. These rare treasures are not just pieces of history. They are also some of the most valuable coins collectors are actively hunting today. So, if you're a coin enthusiast, an investor, or someone who appreciates the beauty and significance of American currency, backhand index pointing right, this video is for you. Let's get started with the first coin. Magnifying glass tilted left money bag. The story of the 1944 wheat penny does not begin with money, but with war. It begins in a world on fire, when nations were fighting for survival and even the smallest resources were considered precious. In that moment, the United States penny was no longer just a coin. It became a reflection of sacrifice, urgency, and national endurance. By 1944, America was deep into World War II. Copper was desperately needed for ammunition, wiring, and military equipment. Every ounce mattered. The government had already altered coin production during the war, even changing metals to conserve resources. This alone makes the pennies of this era historically charged, carrying the weight of global conflict. The wheat penny design itself was already a symbol of stability. Introduced decades earlier, it showed Abraham Lincoln on one side and two wheat stalks on the other, representing prosperity, hard work, and the backbone of the nation. During wartime, this imagery felt even more powerful. Food, labor, and unity were survival. The 1944 wheat penny with no mint mark was struck in Philadelphia, the heart of American coinage. Coins without mint marks often go unnoticed, but Philadelphia pennies carry a special authority. They represent the standard, the foundation, the original voice of U.S. money. Most people hear 1944 penny and assume it is common. Millions were made. Millions were spent. Millions were lost. And that assumption is exactly where opportunity hides. History has always hidden its greatest rewards inside objects people think they already understand. The 1944 penny is famous for one reason that borders on legend: metal. Unlike the steel pennies of 1943, most 1944 cents were made of copper again, melted down from recycled wartime materials. That copper had already lived a life. It may have once been part of shell casings, electrical systems, or military equipment. When struck into pennies, it carried that unseen past with it. There is a powerful myth surrounding this coin, that copper alone can make someone rich overnight. The truth is more complex and more fascinating. Copper is not rare by itself. But wrong metal, right year, perfect survival is where reality turns into legend. Most 1944 wheat pennies were heavily used. They passed through hands that were busy surviving a war. People did not save coins for beauty. They spent them for bread, fuel, and letters home. Because of this, truly pristine examples are far scarcer than production numbers suggest. The surface of a coin tells a story. Scratches are years. Wear is movement. Damage is neglect. A 1944 wheat penny that survives untouched is not just a coin. It is a witness that somehow escaped chaos. The phrase "no mint mark" often fools people into thinking a coin is ordinary. In truth, it simply means it was struck at the main mint, under immense wartime pressure, producing coins at a speed few modern mints have ever matched. Speed creates mistakes. Mistakes create legends. Some of the most valuable pennies in the world exist because metal, planchets, or timing went wrong. History shows that when wartime urgency meets mass production, perfection becomes rare, and rarity becomes priceless. The idea that one penny could make someone a billionaire is often exaggerated, but the emotion behind it is real. A single cent has sold for more than houses, businesses, and lifetimes of savings. That reality fuels obsession, hope, and relentless searching. What most people do not understand is that cleaning a coin is the fastest way to destroy its future. Brightness means nothing. Original surfaces mean everything. Collectors do not chase shine, they chase untouched history. The wheat stalks on the reverse of the coin were meant to symbolize growth. During war, they symbolized survival. Every 1944 wheat penny carries that symbolism quietly, waiting for someone to understand it. Coins like this often hide in plain sight. They sit in jars, boxes, drawers, and inherited collections, overlooked because they look familiar. Familiarity is history's best disguise. Every famous rare coin was once common. Every legendary discovery began with someone who refused to assume they already knew the answer. The 1944 wheat penny still lives in that dangerous space of assumption. The Philadelphia Mint did not know which pennies would survive. Time chose them. Time always chooses. It removes millions and crowns a few. Copper ages beautifully when left alone. It darkens, deepens, and preserves its character. That natural aging is not decay. It is authenticity. Authenticity is what collectors worship. The Lincoln portrait on the penny has seen more American history than any other image on currency. On the 1944 penny, Lincoln's presence feels especially heavy. Leadership during division, strength during uncertainty. The greatest value of this coin is not its metal, but its moment. It represents America standing firm while the world trembled. That kind of history cannot be recreated. Most people searching for fortune look forward. Coin collectors look backward. They understand that the past leaves gifts behind for those patient enough to listen. A 1944 wheat penny is not valuable because it is old. It is valuable because it survived a time when survival itself was uncertain. Coins do not choose their owners. Owners choose whether to understand their coins. If someone truly believes they have a special 1944 wheat penny, the first rule is restraint. Do not clean it. Do not rush. Do not trust noise. History rewards calm hands. The myth of overnight fortune is seductive, but the truth is deeper. Coins change lives slowly, through knowledge, patience, and respect. The 1944 wheat penny does not shout. It whispers. It waits. It lets time test who deserves to recognize it. And so this small copper cent remains, born of war, shaped by urgency, ignored by millions, and understood by few, carrying the quiet power to remind the world that even 1 cent can hold the weight of history, and sometimes, history pays back those who listen. Next up, the story of the 1956 wheat penny begins in a world that believed it had finally found peace. The war years were over, factories had quieted, and America was rebuilding its confidence. Yet even in this calmer time, the smallest coin carried the echo of everything the nation had survived. This penny was born into a country learning how to breathe again. By 1956, the wheat penny design was nearing the end of its long journey. For nearly half a century, these coins had passed through wars, depressions, and revolutions in daily life. The 1956 issue belongs to the final chapter of a historic design that had already seen more American history than most monuments. The Denver Mint struck the 1956 wheat penny with the DE mint mark, a quiet symbol of the American West. Denver coins often carry a rugged, working-class identity, reflecting a region shaped by mining, labor, and endurance. This small letter ties the penny to a place where raw materials became national strength. The wheat penny itself was never meant to be glamorous. It was designed to feel honest, dependable, and familiar. The two wheat stalks on the reverse symbolize growth, labor, and stability, values that mattered deeply to a nation emerging from hardship. The metal of the 1956 penny was copper, a material that has always played a silent but powerful role in American progress. Copper wired homes, powered cities, and connected communication across the country. In coin form, it became a daily companion to millions of lives. Most people assumed that because millions of 1956 pennies were minted, they must all be ordinary. History teaches us the opposite. Mass production does not prevent rarity, it hides it. When millions exist, only a few survive unchanged, and those survivors become the future legends. The 1950s were a time of motion. People traveled, spent freely, and trusted the future. Pennies were tossed into drawers, dropped on sidewalks, and forgotten in pockets. Carelessness was common, and carelessness is what time later turns into scarcity. Every scratch on a coin is a moment. Every worn edge is a journey. Most 1956 wheat pennies carry the marks of decades of movement. A coin that escaped those marks carries something far more valuable than metal. It carries untouched history. The idea that copper alone can create unimaginable wealth is often exaggerated, but it is not foolish. History shows that condition, rarity, and circumstance transform simple copper into objects of extraordinary value.
The metal is only the beginning of the story. The Lincoln portrait on the penny gives this coin its emotional gravity. Abraham Lincoln represents unity after division, leadership through uncertainty, and the cost of holding a nation together. On a penny struck in peaceful times, his presence still reminds us what peace required. The wheat penny design was retired just a few years after 1956. That approaching end gives the 1956 D issue a quiet importance. It belongs to the last generation of a design that had become part of American identity itself. Coins near the end of a design's life often go unnoticed. People assume the future belongs to what comes next. History proves that the end of something is often when meaning becomes concentrated. The greatest danger to a potentially valuable penny is human interference. Cleaning a coin removes its natural surface, and with it, its credibility. Original copper tones, even when darkened, are far more respected than artificial shine. Collectors do not look for perfection alone. They look for honesty. An untouched coin tells the truth about where it has been, or where it has not been. That truth is priceless. The Denver Mint did not know which pennies would survive. The people who handled them did not know either. Time alone decides, and time is ruthless. Stories of pennies changing lives are often dismissed as fantasy, but history records moments where one small coin altered financial destinies. Not because of luck alone, but because someone recognized value where others saw nothing. The 1956 D wheat penny lives in a dangerous place, familiar enough to be ignored, old enough to be dismissed. That place is where history hides opportunity. Many people believe valuable coins must come from crisis years. They forget that peace produces neglect, and neglect produces rarity just as surely as hardship does. Copper ages with dignity. When left untouched, it develops depth, character, and richness. This aging is not damage. It is proof of survival. The wheat stalks on the coin are more than decoration. They represent nourishment, patience, and the idea that value grows quietly before it is harvested. Every famous rare coin once sat unnoticed. Someone had to be the first to stop, to look, and to question what they were holding. Coins do not become powerful overnight. They become powerful when decades remove their competition and memory returns to claim them. The 1956 D wheat penny does not promise fortune to everyone. It tests awareness, restraint, and respect for history. Those who rush usually lose. Those who wait sometimes discover that what they held all along was more important than they imagined. America moved forward after 1956, and the wheat penny faded into memory. But memory has a way of returning when time is ready. This penny remains a bridge between old America and modern America, between hand-to-hand trade and digital life. It does not shout its importance. It allows time to reveal it. And so the 1956 D wheat penny rests quietly in drawers, jars, and collections, made of humble copper, shaped by ordinary hands, carrying the quiet power to remind us that history often hides its greatest potential in the smallest, most familiar things, waiting for someone patient enough to understand it. Next up, the story of the 1957 D wheat penny begins in a moment of quiet confidence in American history. The nation was no longer at war, factories were humming with optimism, families were settling into routines, and the future felt stable. Yet inside that calm, millions of small copper coins were being struck, unaware that they would soon represent the final breath of an era. By 1957, the wheat penny design had already lived a long and exhausting life. For nearly 50 years, it had passed through hands during wars, depressions, booms, and social change. The 1957 D issue stands very close to the end of that journey, carrying with it the accumulated memory of half a century of American life. The Denver Mint placed its D mint mark on these pennies as a quiet signature of origin. Denver was a mint born of the West, shaped by mining, metal, and motion. Coins struck there often reflect the working pulse of America rather than its ceremonial face. The wheat penny itself was never flashy. Its beauty was subtle, grounded in meaning rather than shine. The two wheat stalks on the reverse symbolized nourishment, patience, and honest labor, values deeply embedded in American identity. The metal of the 1957 D penny was copper, a material that had powered America's growth long before it became currency. Copper ran through wires, machines, homes, and industries. In coin form, it became the most personal form of metal, something everyone touched, everyone trusted, and almost no one questioned. Because millions of these pennies were produced, most people assume they are all ordinary.
History teaches a different lesson. When something is everywhere, people stop protecting it.
When people stop protecting something, time begins quietly selecting survivors. The late 1950s were years of movement. Coins flowed constantly through stores, gas stations, schools, and homes. Pennies were dropped, scratched, bent, and forgotten. Survival in perfect condition was not common. It was accidental. Every mark on a coin is a memory. Most 1957 wheat pennies are worn smooth by decades of ordinary life. A coin that escaped that wear carries something rare, untouched time. The idea that copper alone can make someone unimaginably wealthy is often exaggerated, but it is rooted in truth. History shows that when copper meets rarity, error, or extraordinary preservation, value can rise beyond logic. The Lincoln portrait gives this penny its emotional depth. Lincoln represents unity forged through division, leadership earned through sacrifice, and ideals tested by hardship. Even in peacetime, his presence on the penny reminds us what stability cost. The 1957 wheat penny exists in the shadow of something important: the end. Just 2 years later, the wheat design would disappear forever, replaced by a new image. Coins struck near the end of a design's life often carry concentrated meaning. Endings are often ignored when they happen. People look forward, not backward. History rewards those who recognize the weight of an ending before nostalgia awakens. The greatest threat to this penny's future value is not time, but human action. Cleaning removes history.
Polishing erases authenticity.
Artificial shine destroys trust. Collectors value truth far more than brightness. An untouched copper surface tells a story no cleaning ever could. Darkening, toning, and natural aging are not flaws. They are proof of survival. The Denver Mint did not choose which pennies would matter. The people who handled them did not choose either. Time chose. Time always chooses. Stories of pennies changing lives are often dismissed, yet history records moments where a single cent sold for more than homes, businesses, and entire inheritances. Those stories exist because someone looked closer when others did not. The 1957 wheat penny hides in familiarity. It looks ordinary.
Feels ordinary.
That familiarity is its camouflage. Many believe valuable coins must come from dramatic years. They forget that peaceful years produce neglect, and neglect produces rarity just as effectively as crisis.
Copper ages with dignity.
When left alone, it deepens in color and character.
That transformation is not decay. It is authenticity.
The wheat stalks on the coin quietly reinforce the lesson of patience. Wheat does not grow overnight. Neither does value. Every legendary coin once sat unnoticed.
Someone had to be the first to stop assuming and start observing. Coins do not become powerful because people believe in them.
They become powerful because time removes their competition. The 1957 wheat penny does not promise fortune to everyone. It tests restraint, knowledge, and respect for history. Those who rush usually lose. Those who wait sometimes realize they were holding something meaningful all along. When the wheat design ended, America moved forward. But memory never disappears. It waits. This penny stands at the edge between old America and modern America, between hand-to-hand trade and the coming digital age.
It does not shout its importance. It lets time speak for it. And so the 1957 wheat penny rests quietly in jars, drawers, and collections, made of humble copper, shaped by ordinary lives, carrying the quiet power to remind us that history often hides its greatest potential in the most familiar objects, waiting for someone patient enough to truly see it.
Next up, the story of the 1956 wheat penny begins in a moment when America felt steady on the surface but restless underneath. The nation was moving forward fast, building highways, suburbs, and dreams. Yet it was also quietly saying goodbye to many old traditions. In that atmosphere, millions of copper pennies were struck, unaware they were becoming part of a fading chapter. The year 1956 sits deep in the heart of post-war America. Confidence was high, industry was strong, and everyday life felt predictable. Coins made in such years often escape attention, and that lack of attention is exactly what allows history to quietly work its magic. The wheat penny design was already old by 1956. It had served the nation through war, depression, and recovery. For nearly half a century, It had been a silent witness to American struggle and growth, passed from hand to hand without ceremony. A 1956 wheat penny with no mint mark was produced in Philadelphia, the birthplace of American coinage. These coins were considered standard, ordinary, and plentiful at the time. No one imagined that ordinary would one day become its greatest disguise. Copper was the soul of this penny. Long before it became a coin, copper had built the physical backbone of the country. Wires, machines, engines, and tools. When shaped into a cent, that same metal became the most personal form of American money. Because so many 1956 pennies were produced, most people assume none of them matter. History teaches a different lesson. When something is everywhere, it is rarely protected, and what survives untouched becomes uncommon without anyone noticing. The 1950s were years of constant movement. Coins flowed through grocery stores, diners, gas stations, and schools. Pennies were dropped, scraped, bent, and forgotten. Time quietly began eliminating most of them. Today, most 1956 wheat pennies show heavy wear. Their details are softened, their surfaces tired from decades of use. A coin that escaped that fate carries something rare: preserved time. The belief that copper alone can make someone unimaginably wealthy is often exaggerated, yet the emotion behind that belief comes from real stories. History proves that when condition, rarity, and survival align, even a humble cent can defy expectations. Abraham Lincoln's portrait anchors this penny in meaning. Lincoln represents endurance, unity, and moral strength. In 1956, his image reminded Americans of values that mattered more than speed or convenience. The wheat stalks on the reverse quietly reinforce patience. Wheat does not grow quickly, and neither does value. The design itself teaches the lesson most collectors learn too late: wait. By 1956, the wheat penny was nearing its end. Only a few years later, the design would be replaced forever. Coins produced close to the end of a long-running design often carry a unique historical weight. Endings are rarely recognized while they happen. People look forward, not backward. Only later does the realization arrive that something meaningful slipped quietly away. The greatest threat to the future value of a wheat penny is not age, but human interference. Cleaning removes originality. Polishing erases history. What looks better to the eye often becomes worthless to the collector. Natural copper aging is not damage. It is proof of authenticity. Darkening, toning, and subtle color shifts tell a story no artificial shine ever could. The Philadelphia Mint never selected which pennies would matter in the future. The people who spent them never did either. Time alone decided. Stories of life-changing pennies are often dismissed as myths, yet history records moments when a single cent sold for sums that stunned the world. Those moments happened because someone recognized importance where others saw nothing. The 1956 wheat penny hides behind familiarity. It looks like countless others. That sameness is its protection. Many people believe valuable coins must come from dramatic years of crisis. They forget that peaceful years produce neglect, and neglect creates rarity just as effectively. Copper matures with dignity. Left untouched, it deepens in character rather than fading. Collectors seek that character, not perfection. Every legendary coin began its life unnoticed. Someone had to slow down, question assumptions, and look closer. Coins gain power not because people talk about them, but because time quietly removes most of them from existence. The 1956 wheat penny does not promise fortune to everyone. It tests patience, discipline, and respect for history. Those who rush often lose. Those who wait sometimes discover they were holding something meaningful all along. America moved forward after 1956, embracing speed, technology, and change. The wheat penny slowly disappeared from daily life, slipping into memory. Yet memory does not vanish. It waits. The 1956 wheat penny with no mint mark stands between eras, between old America and modern America, between hand-to-hand trade and a future no one could fully imagine. It does not demand attention. It allows time to reveal its worth. And so this humble copper coin rests quietly in drawers, jars, and collections, shaped by ordinary hands, carrying extraordinary history, reminding us that sometimes the smallest objects hold the longest stories, waiting patiently for someone wise enough to understand them. Next up, the story of the 1954 wheat penny begins in a quiet but confident America. The country had survived war, endured sacrifice, and now stood firmly on its feet. The noise of factories and the rhythm of daily life filled the nation, and within that rhythm, millions of copper coins were born without ceremony. The year 1954 did not arrive with headlines or drama, and that is exactly why it matters. History often hides its most meaningful objects in ordinary years, when people are too busy living to preserve what passes through their hands. By this time, the wheat penny design was already familiar to generations. It had been part of American pockets for decades, trusted without thought. That familiarity caused people to overlook it, and what is overlooked is rarely protected. The D Mint mark tells us this penny came from the Denver Mint, a facility shaped by the strength of the American West. Denver coins often reflect production under pressure, speed over perfection, and the rough honesty of a working nation. Copper gave this penny its soul. Long before it became money, copper powered growth, industry, and communication. In the penny, copper became the most human form of metal, warm, touchable, and easily forgotten. Millions of 1954 D wheat pennies were struck, and most vanished into daily life. They paid for bread, newspapers, coffee, and candy. They rolled under furniture, fell into cracks, and were worn smooth by time. Movement defines the 1950s. Coins rarely rested. They passed endlessly from hand to hand, each exchange leaving a faint trace. Time began quietly deciding which pennies would survive with their story intact. Today, most examples of the 1954 D penny show heavy wear. Their details are softened, their edges rounded, their surfaces tired. A coin that avoided this fate holds something rare: preserved history. The idea that copper itself can make someone unimaginably wealthy is often exaggerated, but history shows that value is born where survival, condition, and story intersect. A single cent can become powerful when everything else disappears. Abraham Lincoln's portrait gives the penny its emotional gravity. Lincoln symbolizes unity after division and calm strength after chaos. In the 1950s, his image reminded Americans of lessons learned the hard way. The wheat stalks on the reverse were never meant to impress. They symbolized nourishment, patience, and growth. These were not fast values, but enduring ones, the kind that reward time. By 1954, the wheat penny was approaching the final years of its long existence. Within a few years, the design would vanish forever, replaced by something new and modern. Endings rarely announce themselves. People rarely realize they are holding the final versions of something familiar. History becomes valuable only after memory wakes up. The greatest danger to the future worth of a wheat penny is not age, but interference. Cleaning removes originality. Polishing erases truth. What looks shiny often loses its soul. Natural copper aging is not decay. It is evidence. Toning, darkening, and subtle color shifts prove the coin has lived honestly through time. The Denver Mint did not choose which pennies would matter decades later. The people who spent them did not choose either. Time made that decision quietly and without emotion. Stories of pennies changing fortunes are often dismissed, yet history records moments when small copper coins shocked the world with their value. Those moments happened because someone recognized importance before others did. The 1954 D wheat penny hides behind sameness. It looks like countless others. That disguises its protection. Many believe only coins from dramatic years can matter. They forget that peace produces neglect, and neglect creates rarity just as effectively as crisis. Copper ages with dignity when left alone. It matures rather than fades. Collectors seek that maturity, not artificial perfection. Every legendary coin once sat unnoticed. Someone had to pause, look closer, and resist the urge to dismiss it as ordinary. Coins do not gain power because people believe in them. They gain power because time removes millions and leaves only a few. The 1954 D wheat penny does not promise fortune to everyone. It tests patience, knowledge, and respect for history. Those who rush often lose. Those who wait sometimes discover that what they protected quietly carried far more meaning than they imagined. As America moved forward into faster times, the wheat penny slowly disappeared from daily use. Its absence went unnoticed. But memory never disappears. It waits. This penny stands between eras, between old America and modern America, between slow trade and rapid progress. It does not demand attention.
It allows time to reveal its worth. And so the 1954 wheat penny rests quietly in jars, drawers, and collections, made of humble copper, shaped by ordinary lives, carrying extraordinary history, reminding us that sometimes the smallest objects hold the deepest stories, waiting patiently for someone wise enough to understand them.